Well, thank you all for making the time to be here today. We really appreciate this opportunity to connect during these online virtual coaching office hours. It's a very much relaxed, easygoing type of time because we never know quite what the conversation is going to be, what questions people have. So those of you that are on today are really the ones who drive the conversation and the discussion based on your needs. That's why we are here. So I want to first start off by introducing our two guests today. We have Heather and Jennifer joining us, and I'm going to let them take a little bit of an opportunity to just introduce themselves. So Heather and Jennifer, if you can just share your name, your role, the district that you are in, and then maybe just share a little bit briefly about what your current e-learning experience has been. And Heather, we can start with you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Heather Giles, and I work at WBO, which is the 5-6 building in the Troy 30C district, which is, depending on what block you're in, Plainfield, Shorewood, or Joliet. My school's address is in Plainfield, but we're pretty much the most southern tip of Plainfield you can get into. I teach 6th grade enhanced technology, which is hands-on robotics and coding. So right now we're really missing that hands-on piece where the kids are using the robots in class and we're using our 3D printer. But we're transitioning into more of the online-based coding. We're surviving. What are we in? Officially week 2 of e-learning. And we're just basically navigating as we go. It's kind of like this messy, who did their work, who didn't. So yeah. I'd say before, as I was waiting, I was going through and seeing about 10 kids at each of my sections are kind of doing the work for me, but I'm also their exploratory. So I'm curious to see kind of how it all plans out and compared to the content teachers. Are they getting more submissions, or is it just the nature of the big beast? Like, is it working at all?
Mm-hmm. Great points. Great points. All right, Heather. Well, thank you so much for being here. Jennifer?
Okay, so I am an instructional coach in Batavia, currently at a K-5 building. This is the first year as an instructional coach. I used to do instructional technology, and they just kind of changed my title. So, but my background is in special ed and assistive technology. So that's how I know Jill from when I was assistive tech in Hinsdale. So our e-learning is kind of morphing a little bit. The weeks before break, it was pretty much just everybody do your best, all hands on deck. Some teachers were just then getting comfortable with Google Classroom, and now we have kind of switched gears and purchased Seesaw for Schools, so that will hopefully help some of our students and kind of facilitate that a little bit. So.
Interesting. So your purchase of Seesaw has just been during this e-learning time?
Yeah. Yeah, we just rolled it out yesterday, actually.
Wow. Wow. So, so much for, kind of that lull week after a few weeks.
All during break was getting ready for yesterday. And then, so now we're just kind of plugging things in where we missed stuff. So.
Right. Well, can each of you share one thing that you feel is going very well? I know, Heather, you had kind of a great point of, we have kind of several different ways of approaching this e-learning, depending on grade level, depending on your content area, or if you're, in a specials area. And I know we have Lisa on here who is, even in a more unique situation, not only special education, but, hard of hearing. So, just what I have kind of heard, I know my son's district has said that about 80% of the students have checked in via the attendance form that they're sending out on a daily basis. So what are you kind of seeing from your perspective on what is going well with the students, in your particular area?
For me, I think just keeping it short. Our district had sent some pretty strict guidelines out kind of at the beginning of last week in terms of time limits. And as I chatted with just 2 students yesterday, because that's all who pops on my Zoom every day, but that's fine, you know. They were like, oh, it only took me 2 hours today. And last week I was checking in with them and it was taking them from 9 to about the time that they talked with me at 1 o'clock. So in the 4 days of last week that it happened, I really think the teachers were like, whoa. Now I haven't really talked to anybody of those core teachers yet, but to me, keeping it simple has worked. Generally, my instruction is video digitally delivered. So for me, it's just, I really wish I had that opportunity to like, just stand next to them and be like, click here. Like that's what I'm missing right now. But I think big picture, like I said, keeping it short. And I think right now, like I've noticed that the kids will do the work, but then they won't click the submit. So just the process behind which buttons to click, where are we looking for submissions? Are we making it like you have to click in Google Classroom, or can you look and see if they did the work? So I think for me, it's kind of like trying to find that balance of where, yes, they're doing this, but they're not following that last procedure. Does that last procedure matter? Like,
Right.
So it's kind of where I'm struggling. And I was actually looking through the attendance, like I said, before we were starting, and I got through my 3rd period and like 10 of the kids did it, and it's a 25K class, you know, like that's good for me, you know, big picture. Like last week I wasn't getting really much of anything. So either they forgot that they had my class, that they had to do work. I think one student emailed me and was like, yeah, I totally forgot to do explore stuff. I was like, that's fine, catch up this week. You know, at the end of the day, to me, just as long as you're doing something with somebody, I'm happy.
Right. Great point. Jennifer?
I think that what is going best so far is just the general spirit of the teachers. I think that they are just doing an amazing job of reaching beyond their comfort zone, regardless of where they were. They have stretched themselves more. So that's just really, really cool to see. In terms of tools or procedures that we've used that have been most liked are having those Google Meets with the kids. And, you know, one of the 2nd grade teachers that I work with, she said that in their first Google Meet, the kids asked for, to say the pledge. And they didn't have a flag. So one of the little boys drew a flag and held up the flag, and they all stood up and said the pledge. But I just thought that just shows like how much the kids like structure and they like that routine. And so a lot of teachers have been doing daily Google Meets. You know, it's a K-5 building, and then some of our specials teachers then will hop in on those Google Meets so that they can touch base
Okay.
with the kids
All right.
too.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Well, those are some phenomenal things. And I think that, you know, based on some conversations that I've seen and just honestly, even as a parent, and my approach with my son has very much been backing off where we were probably 2 weeks ago, you know, where I was making him, you know, sit and really basically he's a high schooler, you know, so kind of follow his schedule. You know, and it was exhausting, you know, exhausting for him, exhausting for me to, you know, try to connect. And I think that, you know, to your point as well, Heather, I think teachers are probably feeling that as well. Delivering, I mean, teaching can be exhausting anyway on a daily basis, you know, but to try to maintain, you know, providing learning activities, you know, on a schedule that you have face to face, and transferring that to an e-learning schedule, it's just, you know, I think we're just all seeing that that's just not possible. And I think there's some good things that can come out of that, most certainly. But definitely that transition to, you know, let's look at some other ways that students can be engaging and interacting and learning that doesn't necessarily look like the typical work they would be doing sitting in a classroom. So with that being said, have you had any experiences where, you know, or examples that you can share of maybe a learning activity that has been very different, kind of in regards to that any of that you have assigned, you know, or done with your students, or that you have seen some of the teachers do with their students? And that could be a very difficult question. Sorry to kind of put you on the spot with that, because I can't think of any examples off the top of my head necessarily either, except that I think I have become more of a, what kind of experiences can we give students right now? You know, so I took my son down to my parents' house yesterday, and he learned about the skid steer that my dad had rented that is doing a lot of mulching and going through the, you know, so we had this conversation, how does this work? And, you know, kind of took the physics aspect of it, you know, so that's kind of just a personal example, but I didn't know if you guys had anything else that you've seen, you know, happening right now either.
Well, I love how I've been seeing some of the students do a better job of advocating for themselves in terms of using Seesaw or Google Classroom to ask questions and to say, hey, can we do a meet, and can you show this to me again, or I'm not sure how to do that. So that's been a really neat and different learning experience for the students, and something that the teachers love to see. I do have to say a lot of teachers have been enjoying using Seesaw, even the free version, in terms of being able to easily provide feedback. And now that we have the paid version, it's even easier. But with regardless of tools, I think different ways to use that feedback loop has been really, really interesting.
That is a fabulous point, Jen. I just put in the chat window. And for those of you that are online, please feel free to, you know, use the chat window as well. But that is such a great point. And again, as you know, as a parent, I'm able to have those conversations with my son about drafting an email to his teachers, you know, and what does that look like? And how does that communication piece work? You know, those are skills that I'm not sure I would be working with him on otherwise. Probably should have, you know, but didn't really necessarily think about it until the situation. So I do love that point a lot, that I do think it is giving students a set of skills that it is needed, but probably wouldn't necessarily have been something, you know, that advocating for themselves. It's a whole nother experience in this situation than it is being in a classroom.
I'm actually checking comments as we're sitting here. I'm getting a ton of Google Classroom comments because I assigned them some CS First work, and we did at the beginning of the trimester when I was presenting at IDEACon, but we haven't looked at it since, and it can be a little tricky still. They're like, how do I do this? How do I do that? So yes, they're definitely reaching out maybe more even than they would have in class.
That's what I was just going to ask, Heather, is if you are seeing, like, are you seeing students ask questions via email or on the doc that maybe wouldn't be asking questions if you were in the classroom together?
Potentially. Like we're on a trimester, so I've known these kids since the end of February.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you better.
So I, you know, like I don't have a holistic picture of a lot of their work habits yet. So it's I still have to have my pictures of who they are with me, because like I said, we were there for what, 4 weeks, and it was like, all right, see you soon. So, you know, I don't have a good answer for that, but I would guess that some of them are more reaching out than I would have probably expected maybe in class.
That brings up another thought too. Last week we had some conversations about how, you know, as educators, even though no matter what, to some degree, even with teachers who have had these students all year long, moving to this e-learning environment has really caused the situation of reestablishing your classroom processes and your classroom culture, and, you know, what does that all look like? It you know, you are reestablishing that no matter what, because it is very different in this e-learning environment than it is face-to-face. So great point. Jill asked a question in the chat window about Seesaw and specialists. What is the best way for specialists to receive work from students? Have their own class or use a folder in the teacher's classroom? This is the art teacher who has the students doing hands-on work and taking a photo of it rather than activities.
So I can speak to that. We have been having the specials have a folder in the Seesaw classroom. And that is, we've had one school that has had Seesaw for Schools for quite some time, and that's what they ended up doing. And the reason for that was that the little ones were having difficulty if they were in more than one class, toggling in and out of the class. So we even had a case where a social worker had her own class, and so the student would check the social work, and then when the teacher would post information, that student never saw that information because they were still logged in. They just didn't know how to toggle back and forth. Now, if we were in a in-school situation, I would say, okay, well, we really have to work with the students then and teach them how to toggle back and forth. But the district, for now, with the kids being home, it's a pain for us to have everybody in our classroom, in our Seesaw class, but it's easier for the students and the families. And so we're just kind of taking on that burden right now of having all those alerts and having to approve things. And I know it's kind of a pain, but that's what we're doing for now.
I think that's a good strategy, you know, Jennifer. My sister was a preschool teacher for many years. She's a stay-at-home mom now, so she's been out of education for a few years, well before any technology really was part of the classroom. And I know she feels a little overwhelmed at times with trying to figure out some of that stuff,
Yes.
you know, and how it works. So though it is a burden on, you know, you as educators, I can speak from at least her perspective that would be greatly appreciated to take some of that on, and one less thing for them to try to figure out.
Yeah.
Jill,
I know.
does that answer your, oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say, I have 3 kids in school, and I started making a chart of everything because it's just so much to manage. Their remote learning, and luckily the oldest one's a senior, so if he can't figure it out, he probably shouldn't graduate anyway. You know, he should be able to do it. But you know, for the other ones, the other 2, I really do kind of need to stay on top of it, and it's been a lot as a parent.
I agree. I have, my 2 are older, and so but I have one, my youngest is a freshman, and I do have him on a schedule, you know, of here's, you know, from 9 to 10, you know, be looking at this from 10 to 11. In the same way, I think just, you know, kids do love structure. They may not always admit to that, but they do. You know, so I do think that having some structure to the day is definitely important for the students. But, you know, to your point about your senior, my son's a junior in college, and he shared yesterday that he goes to Bradley in Peoria, and they're already talking about online classes for the fall in Bradley. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Now where he's getting this information, I have no idea.
Right. I've heard some universities for the summer session considering like online for the summer session, but I've not heard fall yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I know. So, but to your point, Jennifer, they really do need to learn to manage this, because this could be, you know, becoming a greater part of education in general. So, Jill, I just wanted to make sure that did answer your question, that Jennifer said about running Seesaw with the folders.
Yes, it does. It's only kindergarten 1st and 2nd. So it's primarily the parents who are going to be doing it. It's a little bit dicey because we have a dynamic kindergarten and 2nd grade teacher who sent the classroom codes home with the kids, and everything's going well rather than using the home learning codes. So I don't want to break something that's working for them, and they haven't seen a privacy problem at this point. So we kind of have a mix between classes with some using the home learning codes. So I'll take your advice and share it with the teachers. I just don't want them to be burdened by the kids not making. Is it difficult for the kids to put work into the folder? I mean, since it's kindergarten and 2nd, the parents are probably going to be involved in submitting it anyway. Is that correct?
I would assume so. In terms of submitting to the folder, I don't think that that will be an issue because if they don't put it in the folder, the teacher can put it in the folder for them. So, and I haven't used the home learning codes at all.
Okay. Yeah, what I did with the home learning codes is it comes as a PDF with like 23 in one document. Yeah. And then what I did was I saved each student's as a PDF and saved it with the child's name. And then I emailed it. I got that idea from a tech at another school. I was using Cami, which is more complicated. Yeah. It only took me about 20 minutes per class. Okay. So it really wasn't bad. If you're not using the home learning codes, how are the kids accessing it?
Mostly through their Gmail account or a one-to-one class code.
Okay.
And then we just turn off the so students can't see each other's work. Because
yeah, we turned that off too.
Okay, yeah, our SPED directors were like, yeah, that needs to be turned off if they're at home.
Yeah, so, right.
Yep.
Yeah, I asked them to turn it off. I haven't, verified that they have, but I did ask them to do that for the same reason.
All right, great. So the rest of you that are on, we're at about 10:35. So now is about the time where we kind of just really, really want to dive in and make sure that we are meeting your needs. The rest of you that are on the call, do you have some specific questions that you want to ask Heather and Jennifer in regards to innovative ideas or e-learning experience or apps or resources that they might be able to assist you with? Feel free to put it in the chat window, or if you want, you're more than welcome to come off mute and ask your question as well. Lisa is asking Jennifer what is, and Heather, I'm sorry, I don't know if you use Seesaw or not.
I have, I've heard of it. I've tried it out. I've not used it with students.
It seems to me, and I hear people say that it is really user friendly and, a resource for all K-12, but it does seem like it's very much more focused in the elementary level. But Lisa is asking Jennifer what the main benefit to Seesaw is.
So I would say the main benefit is that it has so many different modes of accessibility. So students can respond to things using their voice or a video. They can draw, and you can upload an activity such as, like as a PDF, and then the students can draw on top of it. So we've been doing, or use a text box. So we've been using a lot of graphic organizers, and you can link a story like from Storyline Online or something like that, where the story is being read aloud, and then the students fill out a graphic organizer, and it just comes back to you. It's pretty seamless. I have one teacher who started in Google Classroom, and then the kids are really, really used to it. So when she posts something in Seesaw, then she'll just say in Google Classroom, check your Seesaw today and fill out the telling time activity. So she's kind of, a lot of teachers are using both, whatever the students are most comfortable with as kind of the hub, and then adding something else if Google Classroom doesn't really do the trick. Then Seesaw has more to offer for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of templates. They're actually called Seesaw activities. And they are ones that you can create your own activity, but there are thousands in there, and a lot of them are standards aligned. So you can look it up by grade level and content area. We just created a site, so I'll put the bit.ly in here. It's specific to Seesaw for schools and Chromebooks. So I found that when the teachers were going to the general Seesaw site, they were getting so confused with what version of Seesaw, what device, and then they're really pushing those home learning codes. And the district wanted them to do it a specific way. So the bit.ly is just Seesaw BPS. So that's the intro website and it has all of the how-to stuff that we've made for our teachers. It's kind of curated for our teachers, but you're welcome. There's a overview. It's 9 minutes long, so maybe you play it while you're doing the dishes or something like that, folding laundry. But it kind of shows you an overview. I tried to fit as much as I could in 9 minutes, and you can kind of decide for yourself if it's something that you think fills a gap that you currently have. But if you don't have any gaps, then why add more? So
that's great, Jennifer. Thank you very much for sharing that resource as well. That gives a good overview of Seesaw. You know, again, I hear Seesaw. I feel like there's kind of two resources right now that people are talking about quite a bit, and how they are kind of their go-to resources, whether they've used them in the past or new to, you know, using online types of applications, but they're easy to pick up on and are making a difference in what they're doing. Seesaw seems to be one, and the other one is Flipgrid. And Heather, I know you use Flipgrid quite a bit, right?
I do.
Yeah, can you share a little bit about Flipgrid?
So I went back to Flipgrid this trimester. I used it a few years ago. I wasn't using it well. Like, it was just something I threw at them and I didn't really do anything with it. So I went back and I was like, how can you use this better? So for this trimester at the beginning, I did a get to know me activity where the kids were to submit something that they wanted to share with me. It was all private. The settings inside of Flipgrid can probably very similar to Seesaw, where you can set it to where the students' videos aren't viewable to each other. So it would be just you and the student's video. So we did that starting out, which was good. Then over our days where they were the Act of God days, I did a morning hello. So I had a few views on those. Some of them responded. And then I actually set one up for my staff because I was like, this could be something that we need to revisit. And, you know, if we're going to be away from them for a long time, it's a nice platform to video respond where you don't have to be live feed. And then this Friday, I rolled out a Feel Good Friday robotics challenge because I have all of them home with me. I brought them home. I brought the kits. So I have Sphero. I've got some Makey Makeys with me, the Hummingbird kits. And I told them, I was like, challenge me to make something. So actually this afternoon, a student challenged me to play a game with Oreos with Makey Makey. So I will be this afternoon. We made a special stop yesterday at the store to get some Oreos because we usually don't keep snacks here because they just become gone a lot faster than they should. So I'm probably going to have to saturate these Oreos and then plug in the alligator clips and see if I can play a game with some Oreos.
That's cool.
So I was surprised that they submitted. So they had like 8 or 9 submissions, which to me, again, that's a win. I see almost 130 kids, but I'm their specials teacher, their exploratory. So any contact for me is a win, and I can't feel offended if they don't check in because there's so much going on. And that's how I'm currently using it. Now I've had a few other staff members reach out. They're like, well, how would you set this up? And I was like, well, how do you want to access it? Is really, you know, do you want to do it by class periods or blocks, or if you want one big one, you know, it's kind of all how you want to use it, but I like it.
Yeah, and I heard people last week being very excited about the new feature that they added.
Yes, I've not tried that. I was like putting it on my list. I'm like, okay, use a screencastify on Flipgrid this week. Like, just do it for yourself.
Cool.
See how it goes.
Can you talk a little bit, Heather, about that new feature?
So previously, all you could do was either upload a video you made already into Flipgrid, or create one real time with you talking through your directions or whatever have you. And so now how I interpret it is you can record your screen and give directions and things like that inside of Flipgrid. So you don't have to create somewhere else, upload it.
Yeah,
it alleviates a step. So
that's phenomenal. I haven't tried that aspect of it either, but
I know I'm excited because I love screen. I do screencastifies all the time, and that's how I get my how-tos. Like yesterday, I made like 3. I was like, why are you still making these? But it was I had to clarify because the CS First section that I gave them was game design, and when CS First came out a few years ago, it was designed for after-school activities. So in the tutorials that she talks about, she says club a lot. And so I didn't want the kids to get confused that, oh, we're not having a club, this is class. So I had to go in and just do a short little like, she means class, we don't use the passport, and we're not using it for 8 days. So like, it was just a quick clarify. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so just a quick follow-up here. Is there any other questions that anybody has? We don't have to be done yet, but again, I just want to make sure as we continue talking, sometimes other questions come up. So is there anything specific that you have questions about while we have the captive audience here of Jennifer and Heather? One thing that I want to just mention quickly is that we do have, I'm going to put 2 links in here as well. We do have some unique webinars coming up for IDEA that we're putting out. The one that I just put in is on Friday, and I know that it's Good Friday and people may not be working, but it worked out just really well with the company that we're working with. But we are doing some very targeted special education staff resource webinars. So the links that I just put in is the link to the Friday webinars that we're doing. We're doing a series of 4 special education teachers, strategies for speech, strategies for OT, and strategies for school psychology and mental health. So we're really excited to have been put into contact with a company called eLuma that does online therapies already. So that is actually what their organization does. So they're going to be leading the webinars and sharing those strategies on what they have learned as best practices in those particular areas for meeting the needs of students. And again, all of our webinars right now are free, so you can join. You'll get PDHs for that. But if you have special education student or staff members, or other educators that you know, please feel free to share that information with them. We're also just kind of doing an overview for special education also on Wednesday. And so that's just going to be 1 hour. So basically our virtual coaching hour on Wednesday is going to just be dedicated to online strategies for special education, kind of an overview, and then dive deeper into our sessions on Friday. And I'll put that link in as well. But we do have a lot of unique sessions coming up. The team's really been working pretty hard on finding some unique experiences and content with others. So please feel free to pass that on to your special education teachers and staff as well. So Heather and Jennifer, I think what I'd kind of like to just finish up with is just a looking forward. So we have been into this, a few weeks now. Jennifer shared already that they've rolled out the full seesaw activities with the students. What do you think, maybe in the next week or in the next 2 weeks, are you kind of looking at for potential changes, or where do you think that you and your district will be at that time?
That's an awesome question.
Right? I was like,
I'll find out at noon. I have a meet.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I have a check-in at 2 o'clock with our exploratory team. So
yeah,
really.
I think at this point, hopefully with our, the new tools that we just kind of offered up to the teachers, hopefully we'll move towards kind of expanding and deepening rather than putting out fires. Right now there's a lot of putting out fires just as things are new. So really trying to make things a little bit more purposeful and valuable for everybody's time. So, and streamlining.
Yeah, I like that. I like the way that you say that. It does very much feel like we've been putting out fires for the last few weeks. And I love that P word, purposeful. So many people are using that right now, and I love it. Like, I feel like that's kind of been, like, obviously Jen, you know, as an ISTE certified educator, we talk about that.
You might take it away.
Right? Yeah, I know, right? No, I'm not taking it away. I love it. You're exactly right. Like, that's the missing piece that we've had, I think, sometimes in education, is we're not being purposeful with what we're doing, and we're not asking that why, and we're not focusing on the skill. You know, it's been this bigger, broader picture of, you know, so content focused. So I love these conversations, and I love hearing that you're, you know, thinking about that. Why are we doing this learning activity? What is the purpose behind it? And I think those are conversations that need to happen. So that's awesome. How about you, Heather?
I don't know. I feel like this is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to throw out the just an explore teacher. So I'm not really in a lot of the meetings that talk about where they're going with this. But I do say that in our staff meetings that we do have together, I'm a little more vocal than I used to be when we're talking about technology use and content and best practices, because what someone who doesn't use it every day may think is the best practice, one who sees it and in practice with 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, I will tell you hands down what works and what doesn't. So I'm using my voice when I can. I wish I could do more. I'm always available. I'm sending out random things to staff. The other day I was like, jazz up your Google Classroom, because there are resources out there where you can change the font. If you add Bitmojis inside of your posts or emojis, you can change up what it looks like, because I was tired of looking at the same thing every day. So small things like that I'll share out, because a lot of our instructional coaches and our tech people are focused on putting those fires out and really looking at how to help and support, where I'm just like, hey, do this one thing if you have time or you want to.
Right.
So.
No, I love that. And I think that's kind of the role that we feel we try to take as an organization right now as well. You know, I know for us, it did still feel like we were kind of putting out fires, but now we're kind of at a place too of, you know, what can we do for you? In fact, the special education sessions that we're offering later this week actually came from a conversation last week, you know, where we had a special education teacher say, I just don't feel like there's anything out there for me right now. Okay, well, let us help you with that. So, you know, I think having that opportunity of just kind of throwing at those ideas and or resources out there to people is so greatly appreciated, because you could be overwhelmed with the flood of information that is out there right now. So I definitely think that's helpful. Well, I thank you both very much for being here. And, you know, I think that might be Lorraine, Jill, or Lisa. Do you guys have any more questions right now for Heather or Jen? All right. Well, I am going to add in the chat window here the professional development hour link. Jen and Heather, please be sure to fill that out as well, because we very much appreciate you organizing, you know, your thoughts and your time to share with us today. So please utilize that. Thank you to everyone for being here. Please, again, spread the word. And again, if there's things that you feel that you need, you know, we've kind of talked about maybe we should do one full session on Flipgrid. After Jennifer's discussion today, maybe we should do a full session on Seesaw. So if something like that would be helpful, please reach out and let us know. We'd be more than happy to, you know, make that happen. And again, Jennifer and Heather, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us today. We really appreciate it. And best of luck to everyone on the call. Unprecedented times for sure, but I really think we're going to come out on the other end of this better together and better for the students. So keep it up. All right. Have a great rest of the day. Try to get outside and enjoy. It's so beautiful.
The window's open. I'm just looking at
yes.
the field next to me, and I'm like, maybe we'll just go out for a bit.
I know. I mean, just the nice breeze and some fresh air, right? We just all need some fresh air right now.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, everybody. Take
All right.
care. Have a wonderful
Bye-bye.
time.
Thank
Wonderful
you.
week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Lisa, do you see, if you're not familiar with Zoom, if you kind of hover over the bottom of the screen, at the very bottom of the screen, if you just kind of hover over it, you're going to see some options: invite participants, share, chat. If you click on the chat button at the bottom, it'll pop open the chat screen.
Right.
And yep. And so do you see the link that I put in there, the bit.ly IDEAcoaches 47?
Since I clicked it, I don't see anything.
Okay, let me put it in again. Okay, do you see it now?
I'm clicking on chat. Okay, so what I'm seeing now is the coaches, it ends with coaches 49
Should coaches 47, but yeah.
or 40. It is 47.
Yeah. If you click on it, it should open it right up. If you click on it out of the chat window, it should open up another the URL should open in a web page. It's a Google form, basically.
Okay.
Did it open up?
Uh-huh.
Yep. And then you're just going to fill that out. It's basically 2 Google Forms. We have them linked though. So you're going to fill it out. It will pop up, it will share another link with you. After you submit it, you're going to click on that second link. So then you're going to fill out the second Google form, and then it will auto send you the actual PDF that has the PDH on it, which that's the, the evidence of completion form that you need to upload. Yep, so it should auto email it to you.
All righty, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for joining us,
I just
Lisa.
had it on mute. They have been planting around me. I'm in the middle of a cornfield. And so we've got the noisy equipment.
I know, right?
I'm outside.
Yeah.
And then I've got a college student who comes through because he's taking classes in French, and he's carrying the computer sometimes with him, and he's writing a term paper in French. And so,
wow.
Yeah, they have to research it in French. So only French resources. So you have to be able to read it and understand it, and then write a paper, and then read it correctly.
Wow.
And that's like part of their University of Illinois final for the last level of French. So
interesting. That's intense.
Yeah. So anyway, he's pretty serious about it. So
I bet he is.
And he's a chemistry major. So it's
really,
so this, he's not really into the foreign language. You just have to have a certain amount to get the U of I degree,
Interesting.
But anyway, we've got that. And then my husband works for Caterpillar. And so he is doing electrical schematics and stuff with meetings with people from different countries.
Wow.
It's like, here we are in the middle of the cornfield.
Yep. Exactly.
I was just trying to keep so my noises didn't bother the group.
Oh, well, I am so glad that you joined us today. And what a small world. It's so funny that we're all from Rushville.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So Lisa's mom was actually one of my middle school teachers, Mrs. Grider.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
She was great.
Yeah, actually, yeah, she would have. Man, yeah, she was one of my teachers as well. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, well, I'm Erin. I think Erin was a couple years older than me.
Okay.
in high school. So I remember your brother.
So you would have been between Aaron and Chad.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So I'm about 5
Small
years
world.
older than you, at least, or
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah, I was going to say, were you, well, yeah, so my best friend is Diane Clitt.
That's what I was wondering from you said, you know.
Yeah.
Diane's student taught with me how many
Uh-huh.
years ago?
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Fun. Well, Lisa, again, thank you so much. Oh, you're so welcome. And we do this. Check out our website. You can, right now, everything that we're doing online is free, and we offer the PDHs for all of them. So, you know, join whenever you can.
Because I'm between Zooms for my students.
Uh-huh.
And
Good.
I'm using a lot of Zoom because
Yes.
it allows me to caption stuff if I need to. It allows me to do direct instruction type stuff in sign language, you know, and voice.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So anyway, thank you so much.
Well, good. You're welcome. All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.